This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. It's Thursday, November 2, 2023, and you're watching Newsline World. I'm Frederico Velloso.
And I'm Mikey Dennis Oliveira. We're here to bring you, once again, all the stories that we have gathered from all over the globe.
Former palace spokesperson Atty. Roque says that the smears against Vice President Sara Duterte are harming President Bongbong Marcos following the recent drop of approval and trust ratings.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines says the assistance of the U.S. and other countries are no longer needed when it comes to their West Philippine Sea RoRe missions.
The Israel and Palestine conflict resulted in the deaths of more than 10,300 as the conflict grinds on.
Thailand engaged in direct talks with the Hamas to secure the release of Thai nationals that they hostage since their October 7 attack.
And the United States was forced to shoot down its own missile, the Minuteman III ICBM, after the test launch failed.
This and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World.
The assistance of the United States and other countries in the Philippines Rotation and Resupply (RE) mission in the West Philippine Sea is no longer necessary, according to the Philippine Army. Meanwhile, the Army also lauded its successful patrol operation of Philippine vessel in the said area. David Lira will give us more details live. David?
Fred, the Armed Forces of the Philippines emphasizes that the Philippines no longer requires the assistance of the United States and other countries when it comes to the RoRe mission, particularly in the Ayungin Shoal.
The statement was made by AFP spokesperson Colonel Merol Aguilar in response to a question about whether the U.S. is welcome to assist in the Philippines resupply mission.
Our RoRe mission is for us to undertake.
Aguilar further stated that it is the Philippines' own obligation to fulfill the responsibility of safeguarding sovereignty and jurisdiction. Aguilar noted that it is the country's duty and obligation to ensure that environmental protection programs are implemented and to ensure the safety of those navigating in the maritime territory of the Philippines.
It is for our country to make sure that we fulfill our responsibility, being bestowed with the sovereign rights and jurisdiction, to ensure that we are able to harvest or to benefit from the resources therein. We have to make sure that environmental protection programs are being implemented, and at the same time, we also have to ensure the safety of those who navigate in that particular area. This is our obligation.
Meanwhile, Colonel Aguilar provided a statement regarding the recent incident where a patrol operation was conducted by a Philippine Navy vessel in the vicinity of Bajo de Mansilok, and several vessels of People's Liberation Army of China were observed in the area. According to AFP spokesperson, the BRP Conrado Yap, or Patrol Ship 39, conducted a sovereignty patrol and passed through Bajo de Mansilok. In that area, a Chinese vessel, 571, was also observed following the Philippine vessel. However, there were no untoward incidents between China and the Philippines. He added that the mission of the Philippine vessel was successfully completed.
Ganun lang po ang nangyari. Wala namang ibang insidente. Wala naman pong untoward incident kasi nga po tuloy-tuloy naman yung paglalayag ng ating barko at hindi naman siya na-obstruct ng barko ng China. May distansya po, 2.7 nautical miles ang pinakamalapit na point.
National Security Advisor Secretary Eduardo Año previously stressed the Philippines' right under international law to patrol in the West Philippine Sea, including Bajo de Mansilok, which is within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. This is response to the statement of the spokesperson of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, or PLA Southern Theater Commandant, who claimed that a Philippine warship had illegally entered waters near Bajo de Mansilog, allegedly violating China's sovereignty. Regarding the incident in the West Philippine Sea between the Philippines and China, Aguilar stated that the government continues its legitimate operations. He said they will continue to conduct maritime patrols, and the rotation and resupply mission in Ayungin Shoal will also continue.
Tuloy-tuloy lang po tayo sa ating suporta sa ating pamahalaan sa mga sinusulong nito na programa, lalo na po sa national security, sa national interest. Tayo po ay sa Sandatang Lakas ng Pilipinas ay palaging nandyan para gawin po ang kanyang misyon. And we will not stop. We will not be deterred by any harassment or intimidation coming from an outside force. So this is our commitment, and we are going to do that.
Fred, the Philippine Army stressed these are all being done to protect Filipinos, especially those who rely on fishing in the West Philippine Sea. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you. That's Deivid Lira live on SMNI Studios.
Meanwhile, amid EU pressure, Serbia has called snap elections next month as its president dissolved the parliament in the face of political pressure at home and from the EU. Andrea Santos will give us more details.
Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić has dissolved parliament and scheduled elections for December 17. This decision came after the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen offered EU membership to Serbia under certain conditions. The elections will choose members of the National Assembly, city mayors, and county heads. This is unusual because Serbia's last general election was in April 2022, with the next one due in 2026. However, opposition parties demanded early elections due to a school shooting in May. Vučić, who is in his second term as president, emphasized that the election winner will govern until 2027 and move Serbia forward. His party, the Serbian Progressive Party or SNS, has dominated politics since 2012. It can be noted that Vučić is facing criticism from the political opposition over shooting incidents in May that claimed 18 lives. They haven't recognized Kosovo's independence and haven't joined EU sanctions against Russia. EU membership requires recognizing Kosovo and aligning foreign policies with the EU, including sanctions against Russia. This has sparked debates in Serbia about EU alignment. More than 100 countries recognize Kosovo as a country. However, it has yet to achieve member status at the United Nations. Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
At least 10,328 lives have been lost in the current round of deadly Israeli-Palestinian conflict as it entered its 26th day on Wednesday, according to data released by the health authorities of both sides. Since the outbreak of the brutal fighting between Israel and the Palestinians on October 7, Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip have claimed the lives of 8,796 Palestinians, leaving 22,219 injured and 2,030 reported missing, as reported by the Palestinian Health Department in Gaza. And as also reported by the Al Jazeera on the same day, the recent clashes with the Israeli army in the West Bank left 127 people killed. So far, the Palestinian side has reported a total of 8,923 deaths in the ongoing conflict. As of now, there is a lack of official and verified information regarding the number of casualties in the Israeli side in the ongoing conflict. Israeli media on Monday reported 1,538 deaths among the Israeli due to the conflict, while Al Jazeera reported 1,405 deaths on the Israeli side. However, it is important to note that these figures have not been confirmed by official Israeli authorities.
The numbers of deaths and injuries are rising, but humanitarian aid to the world is sending to the Egyptian border with Gaza is barely going in. 60 trucks entered the Gaza Strip on Tuesday, the biggest number since the crisis broke early in October. Egyptian authorities, however, say Palestinians need at least 500 trucks daily to meet basic needs. As CGTN's Adel El Maroki reports, Cairo is blaming Israel for the slow flow of aid.
national press conference by the Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Egypt has been accusing Israel of deliberately slowing down the flow of aid going into Gaza from the Rafah crossings, where I am currently. So far, since the war began on Gaza, the Egyptian authorities say that about 250 trucks have managed to cross from the Rafah passage into the Palestinian side. However, the State Information Service chairman says that there has been deliberate measures from Israel to slow down the search and frisking of every truck that enters Gaza, which has led to an extremely slow flow of the aid that is standing by here and has been for over 2 weeks. Hundreds more are standing by in Al Arish airport, where the aid has been coming from all countries across the world, waiting to find a way to enter the besieged Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, dozens of volunteers from across Egypt who are working with NGOs have been living here to load and offload trucks. Some from the Egyptian Red Crescent stand by in case of injured Palestinians come across the border to give them first healthcare services until they find their way to professional hospitalized services. A point that might not be clear is how the Rafah passage works. It is simply like any other land crossing. This gate does not directly lead into Gaza, but rather it leads to a buffer zone where trucks can enter, or civilians or passengers. And then from this buffer zone, there's another border where Israel controls. It checks all goods that go in, people, and everything. So opening the Rafah passage from the Egyptian side does not automatically guarantee or mean that all products, goods, trucks, and people will have direct access. So crossing through this part of Egypt does not mean that all trucks, people, and goods will reach Gaza. There is another border that is controlled by the Israeli government. On Tuesday, 60 trucks managed to cross from Rafah into Gaza, and that's the biggest number yet since the crisis broke out. But it's far from being enough. In the usual circumstances, Palestinians usually get 500 trucks daily for their basic needs, and this is without having exceptional circumstances. With the current war, they definitely need much more. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, from the Rafah crossing at the Egyptian-Palestinian border.
In the meantime, the United Arab Emirates has offered medical and healthcare treatment for hundreds of Palestinian children from Gaza. Gratero Omori has the details.
UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan ordered 1,000 injured Palestinian children from Gaza to be transported to the Gulf nation for medical treatment. The UAE president said that the injured will be transported together with their families. This came after Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed spoke about the need for urgent humanitarian provision and the importance of delivering relief and medical aid to civilians in Gaza. To note, the UAE has normalized relations with Israel under the so-called Abraham Accords hosted by former U.S. President Donald Trump in 2020. The UAE previously said that Israel's war with Gaza would not affect its bilateral trade with the Jewish state. However, the Gulf nation condemned Israel's military ground operations in Gaza and called for an immediate ceasefire to protect civilian lives. The UAE also donated $20 million in aid and organized a humanitarian campaign called Compassion for Gaza. The death toll in Gaza alone has surpassed the 8,000 mark since the conflict erupted on October 7. Reporting from Dubai, this has been Gratero Omori, SMNA News, United Arab Emirates.
Iran has urged Muslim and Arab nations to boycott Israel and demanded an end to the bombardment of the Gaza Strip. Melchizedek Cadiz has the news.
Iran Supreme Leader Ali Hosseini Khamenei has called on Muslim states to stop oil and food exports to Israel as the outbreak of the conflict entered its fourth week. Khamenei also pointed out the pro-Palestine rallies held in several countries worldwide and suggested that the people of Gaza have mobilized the public's conscience. Israel unleashed its most intense bombing of Gaza in 70 years, in response to the deadly surprise attack launched by Hamas on October 7th. Iran, for its part, denied any involvement in the Hamas attack. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces said that the latest airstrikes, which hit a refugee camp in Gaza on Tuesday, killed a second Hamas commander as the death toll from the ongoing conflict increased by the day. Reporting this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
Several Latin American countries have responded to Israel's expanded ground operations in Gaza. Jean Domingo reports.
Israel's military escalation in Gaza prompted Chile and Colombia to recall their respective ambassadors to Israel. Meanwhile, Bolivia ended its diplomatic ties with the Jewish state. Chilean President Gabriel Boric Font recalled the country's ambassador as he slammed the Israeli military for its unacceptable violations of the international humanitarian law. Colombian President Gustavo Petro also recalled the country's respective ambassador to Israel and is among the first world leaders to condemn the attacks by the Israeli army toward the Palestinian territory. Petro also threatened to break off diplomatic relations if Israelis do not stop attacking civilians in the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, Bolivian diplomat and minister of the presidency, Maria Nela Prada, announced her country's decision to cut off diplomatic ties with Israel and demanded that the attacks in Gaza stop. The actions taken by South American nations took place at a time when more Latin American countries launched diplomatic protests against Israel's military escalation in the Palestinian territory. Reporting, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
More than 300 foreigners have evacuated from the Gaza Strip to Egypt due to the escalating conflict between Israel and the terrorist group Hamas. Alyssa Torres has the details.
361 foreigners, including 46 who were injured, have left Gaza through the Rafah crossing and have now arrived in Egypt, according to Egyptian state media. The Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa on Thursday said 10 Japanese nationals and their families have also reached Egypt, hoping to leave Gaza. 5 Japanese citizens, including a United Nations staff member and a member of the international aid group Médecins Sans Frontières, also known as Doctors Without Borders, are on the list of evacuees who have been transported by the authorities from Gaza. According to Gaza authorities, the crossing in southern Gaza will reopen on Friday, allowing 500 foreign nationals to leave the Gaza Strip. As of now, over 10,000 people have lost their lives in the Israel-Hamas conflict, with the majority coming from Gaza. Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno stated on Thursday that a Japanese citizen residing in Gaza, along with their family, is still being convinced not to leave the area despite the intense fighting and explosions in the city. The spokesperson for the Japanese government said that the country continues to engage with Israel and Gaza to ensure the safety of its citizens while pursuing diplomatic efforts to resolve the situation and alleviate the humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Kamikawa announced a 4-day tour of Israel and Jordan starting on Thursday and will also visit Ramallah in the West Bank for a meeting with Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad Malki. Reporting, this has been Alyssa Torres, SMNI News.
The Foreign Minister of Japan started his 4-day diplomatic visit to the Middle East to help calm down the worsening tensions between Israel and Hamas while addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Ria Saito reports.
Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa's diplomatic skills will be put to the test as she visits the Middle East to discuss the escalating war between Israeli forces and Hamas. Kamikawa is scheduled to visit Tel Aviv and Ramallah for talks with Israeli and Palestinian officials and could also potentially speak with refugees in Gaza. She will then travel to Amman, Jordan on Friday. The trip took place as Japan planned to host a 2-day group of 7 foreign ministers meeting scheduled on November 7 and 8 in Tokyo. Japan previously announced its neutral stance on the Israel-Hamas conflict. The government has pledged $10 million in emergency aid for residents in Gaza and condemned the terror attacks launched by Hamas. The trip made Kamikawa the first Japanese minister to visit Israel since Hamas launched a surprise attack on October 7th. Ijon, Japan.
Thai officials held direct negotiations with Hamas to secure the permanent release of Thai nationals who have been taken hostage. Anissa de Guzma will tell us more.
Thai officials engaged in direct talks with Hamas in Iran last week to secure the release of Thais held by the terrorist group Hamas. According to Atty Hamas expressed their intention to release the Thai nationals at the right time. Those in the negotiations met with Hamas officials in Tehran on October 26. Atty who led a three-person team appointed by the Speaker of the Thai Parliament, confirmed that the discussions lasted for 2 hours in Iran. Hamas acknowledged Thailand's request to repatriate the Thai nationals as they believe in the goodwill of the Thai community in the Muslim world. After the talks, the Thai team and Hamas representatives prayed together. It can be noted that 32,000 Thais work in Israel, with most of them in the agricultural sector. 32 Thais have died and 19 have been wounded in the ongoing conflict between Hamas and Israel. Disha Nanisa de Guzman, Rangan Chakuntep Mahanakon, SMN News, Pratet Thai, Sawadika.
Meanwhile, the government of Australia urged thousands of its citizens to leave Lebanon immediately amid fears the conflict between Israel and Hamas is spreading in the Middle East. Sasha Hassa has the story.
The federal government sent an urgent warning to Australian citizens in Lebanon, stating that there is no guarantee the country's main airport will remain open. Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs Tim Watts acknowledged the fact that many Australians had deep family links with Lebanon, but said they should be wary of the potential consequences of the Israel-Hamas conflict spreading through the Middle East. The minister gave the warning as border clashes between Lebanon-based militant group Hezbollah and Israeli forces escalated in recent days since the surprise attack by Hamas on October 7. There are fears that the fighting between Hezbollah and Israel could spiral out of control, with many residents in Lebanon expressing their sympathy for the Palestinians. More than 19,000 people living on the Israel-Lebanon border have been displaced as skirmishes between the two warring parties continue. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid warned that the Israeli military is ready for the Hezbollah attacks and that the group will pay the price for dragging them all into war.
From here, from the northern border of Israel, I want to warn the people of Lebanon. Hezbollah is trying to drag us all into a war, and you will pay the price. Israel is ready, the IDF is ready, we are stronger than ever, and we will not be taken by surprise anymore. We're at the peak of our readiness, and we will know how to retaliate.
About 15,000 Australians reside in Lebanon, with thousands more claiming to have Lebanese ancestry. Reporting from Sydney, this has been Sasha Hassa, SM9 News, Australia.
The U.S. force destroyed a Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, during a test launch due to an unspecified issue, prompting an investigation to maintain its reliability. The U.S. Air Force confirmed the destruction of a Minuteman III ICBM during a test launch from Vandenberg, a Space Force base in California, due to an unspecified issue. Although details about the problem were not provided, the U.S. military emphasized that the missile is still provided valuable data. An investigation will be conducted by the Launch Analysis Group involving various entities to determine the cause of the anomaly. The test, announced as a demonstration of the U.S. strategic deterrence system's redundancy and reliability, was part of the ongoing efforts to ensure the continued effectiveness of the Minuteman III, despite plans to replace it with the LGM-35A Sentinel starting in 2029. This development occurs as the U.S. seeks to expand and modernize its nuclear arsenal, prompting cost-related concerns from critics.
Meanwhile, China said respects the decision of Democratic People's Republic of Korea to close its consulate general in Hong Kong. It can be remembered that North Korea decided to close multiple embassies across the world amid reports of financial difficulties. Jean Domingo has the details.
China respects the decision of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea after it closed its consulate general in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. This was stated by Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin regarding the closure of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea's Consulate General in Hong Kong, saying that China respects and understands the decisions made. North Korean state media KCNA reported the successive closure of its embassies in various countries, and as of now, a dozen of its embassies have been reported closed, including its Consulate General in Hong Kong. According to Wang, each country has the right to establish or withdraw its consulates in other countries.
各国均有权根据自身的实际情况和需要，决定设立或撤销该国驻外领事机构。中方尊重朝鲜关闭其驻香港总领馆的决定。
KCNA also reported that the ambassadors of North Korea bid farewell to the leaders of Uganda and Angola last week in conjunction with the closure of its embassies. Meanwhile, the South Korean Unification Ministry pointed to the faltering economy of North Korea as the reason of the closure of its missions abroad. Reporting this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
The Prime Minister of Cambodia confirmed his participation in the upcoming Japan-ASEAN Summit in December. Chatmongkong Pesamaigoson reports.
Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet confirmed his attendance for the upcoming ASEAN-Japan Summit as Japan commemorates 50 years of friendship with the regional bloc. The ASEAN-Japan Commemorative Summit will be held in the Japanese capital of Tokyo from December 16 to 18, 2023. The Prime Minister confirmed his attendance after a phone call between Cambodia's Foreign Minister and his Japanese counterpart, Kamikawa Yoko. Both countries expressed a desire to strengthen ties during the sidelines of the 23rd ASEAN Summit in September. Diplomatic ties between Cambodia and Japan have been going on for centuries and can be traced to the early 1600s. รายงานจากกรุงเทพมหานคร นายชัดมงคล พิสมัยโกศล SMN News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
A former presidential advisor on political affairs believes that the issue of confidential funds has no effect on Vice President Sara Duterte's reduced survey score. MJ Mondeja reports.
Vice President Sara Duterte still holds the highest trust and performance rating, despite a drop in her and President Bongbong Marcos's trust and performance ratings in the latest Okta Research Tugonang Masa survey. In their overall survey results, VP Sara maintains a 75% trust and performance rating compared to PBBM's 73%. The survey results were released amid controversy surrounding the Vice President's use of confidential funds. However, former presidential advisor on political affairs, Jing Paras, believes that the confidential funds issue has no impact on the career of the Vice President.
Ako po ay naniniwala na hindi tumalab yun kasi wala namang allegations of corruption. They just say na ginamit niya ito, ginamit niyang ganyan, pero mayroon bang specific na allegation itong mga kaliwa na binulsa ni Sara Duterte?
Leftist congressman and House of Representatives, the Makabayan Bloc, previously admitted that they lack sufficient evidence of irregularities in the use of the OVP confidential funds. As a result, they're digging up issues to use against the Vice President. Former presidential spokesman Roque, on the other hand, believes that there are forces within the administration seeking to bring down VP Sara. They're amplifying the issue of confidential funds. However, according to Roque, the smears against VP Sara directly impact President Bongbong Marcos because they were part of the Uni Team, a tandem that promised unity during the recent elections.
Ang hindi kasi naintindihan ng mga pumupukol kay Inday Sara, unang-una, talaga naman pong nagbigay si Inday Sara nung huling eleksyon at talagang pinili na lang niya na suportahan si PBBM bilang isang presidente. Pangalawa, dahil mas mataas ang boto ni Inday Sara kaysa kay PBBM, ano ibig sabihin nun? Dinala rin ni VP Sara si PBBM sa pagkapanalo. Kaya pag pinukol niyo si Inday Sara, pinupukol din niyo ang kanyang ulo na si PBBM. Parang hindi nila nare-realize yun na package deal itong Unity Kaya nga Unity ang inelek Kaya kapag ikaw ay pinukol mo yung isa, apektado rin yung isa.
VP Sara has previously stated that she will continue her support for PBBM under the Uni Team. However, there's a question of whether she should remain in the Uni Team.
This is my personal view on the matter, ay umalis na dyan sa administration ni Marcos. Huwag na siyang tuloy-tuloy pang madamay dyan. kasi gumagawa siya ng kabutihan sa Department of Education and Office of the Vice President dahil sa bulusok ng masamang administrasyon, madadamay ang ating Vice Presidente.
For Ganamabel of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. If you walk by faith, it's just a matter of time that blessings, solutions, and peace of mind and comfort will come to you.
And for our Christmas countdown, it's 52 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit smnichannel.com or follow us in our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and Country, I'm Frederico Velloso.
For God and Country, I'm Mike Dennis Oliveira. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, for the great opportunity to be part of this program.
May you continue to listen on SMNI delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.